Hey everybody, welcome to day 21 of the Take Back Your Life video journey, 40 days of thinking right so that we can live right. We are here today. Feels so good to be on the short side of things.
On a downhill slide.
We've been talking about skiing tonight, and so the downhill slide was a little excited. So I tried to go a different route, but she threw it in there for us.
Yep, I did. Are you going to go skiing in the near future?
Well, I'm hoping to do a little skiing and do a little skiing way up north.
On day like 27, 28.
Something like that.
37, 38.
Yeah, something like that. We're going to try and get some skiing in whenever we go visit Jaden. So we'll see what happens. Never know with the COVID. The whole world might shut down between now and then.
That's true.
But anyway, today, 21, we're talking about some compound interest. We mentioned it a little bit last night. So our verse for today, Psalm chapter 18, verse 29. With your help, I can advance against a troop. With my God, I can scale a wall. So, what is a working definition of compound interest?
Well, the example that he gives is that it's like the domino. It is just stacking on top of each other. So whenever you topple a domino, it can take out another domino twice its size. And then it can keep going. And there is a illustration of this that you can see on the internet. I have it on the back of a book, but it's by your time that you're at like 27 or 28 dominoes in, that domino could be as tall as the Eiffel Tower. So whenever you think about compound interest, it is momentum. It's like a avalanche. It is just coming fast, or a snowball. It's
continues to build and build
fast.
and build. And so this reading today is about building compound interest in our habits. So yesterday we talked about developing habits that are going to be helpful for us and not hurtful. The longer that we let a habit go, it sort of wears a groove, and then when it wears the groove, it becomes entrenched. And it's hard to change those. And so compound interest works both good and bad. So that's why we have to understand just exactly how important it is to keep our habits under control.
Mm-hmm. If you are not continuing to pay attention to it, you will backslide. It's just the way that it is.
Yep. He put the very first sentence in today is there's no such thing as a small decision. And that's true. We were talking with the kids about the decisions and habits that they have and where they think they come from and where they think the desire stems from. And it's interesting to listen to them talk about why they make their decisions. I have, my own issues for the decisions and the habits that I have. For me, when we talk about good habits and bad habits, I think a good habit that I have is exercising. We talked about that last night. That was one that I had to change the groove. So for most of my life, it was just sort of set on automatic, and I never really thought much about exercise. And then about 6 years ago, got motivated to do some exercise, and it's just sort of hung with me. But it was hard, and it took a lot of effort to change that flow. And it still takes effort to this day to get out and do it, especially if the weather's bad or, things don't go well at work, or maybe you're a little tired, or maybe you stay up all night trying to put videos together.
Yeah.
So, there are times that you have to work at doing these things.
So I'm going to elaborate on what he just alluded to. And whenever Rockford and I got married, he weighed probably what you would say, probably 225.
I have no idea.
230-ish. And by the time that we had been married for 5 years, he was closer to 300 pounds. And he kept telling me that I didn't know how to do laundry, that I was shrinking his clothes.
That's right.
That I did not know what I was doing. And so that is very much what we talked about yesterday. So yesterday's example was the slow gain over time of weight being put on. He never even noticed it. And then in 2014, whenever he hit that wall of, I feel terrible, I don't like where I'm at, he started walking, and walking turned to running, which for him, it was a very fast compound interest thing because he started, July 4th or so. And then by the time that he had his birthday in September, you were down 75 pounds. And then by the time that he got to the new year, he was down 100 pounds. And so that is, to me, that's a good example of the years before with it going slow and that habit. And then saying, no, I'm going to do something different and intentionally every day doing something about it. Yeah, that's the best example I can do. And I don't know if it's hurtful to him or not, but we have a friend that we have an Apple TV and it does our pictures on it whenever it doesn't have anything going on it. We have a friend that every time that he sees the picture of Rockford whenever he was heavy, he goes, look, it's the fat guy that ate Rockford.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
And that's been a long time ago. So.
And just like Pastor says in the reading today, even though you've gotten that 100 pounds off, it still continues to be something that you have to make a choice to do, just like you were just saying.
We have to figure out where the root cause of any of our habits comes from. So we talked a little bit about that with the kids. Pastor talks about that in today's reading. That was hard to get out for some reason. But we have to learn what the cue is. What is it that causes us to go into habit whatever? And what is the reward that comes out of it that keeps us going back to it? In the terms of bad habits, we got to figure out what it is that causes us to get to the place where we feel like we have to do whatever it is. And the reward that comes after it, is that reward more or less beneficial, right? In most cases, if it's a bad habit, it comes out being less beneficial for us. Anyway, he also used the example of the fact that the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time is to do it right now. The right time to do the right thing is now. So as you're looking at this and you're sort of looking at maybe where you're at in life right now, and you're going through this book, you're halfway into it, you've made a few identifications of some things that you would like to do differently, that you think that you can do differently, but you need to make the choice to take that step now. Don't wait. We talked last night a little bit about New Year's resolutions.
Yeah. And
New Year's resolutions are great, but there's no time better than to do it right now.
There's nothing special about the clock rolling over on the end of the year.
It's just another day and another month. And so the sun goes down and comes up just like it did the day before.
Yes. He addresses that too.
Try to keep it down over there. Last night you told your whole life story.
Well, I was
twice.
debating whether to tell my whole life story, and I am trying to keep it under wraps.
You don't have to keep it totally under wraps, but, break it up over a couple of days.
Okay, so in about the same amount of time that Rockford has been on this kick of exercise, I had went from 20 years of smoking to being a non-smoker for the last 6 years. And
has it been that long?
Yep. And I was always afraid to give it up. And for years it was just at night after the kids were in bed. But for me, whenever we're talking about the root causes, I kept going back to, this is how I relax, this is how I calm down, this is how I'm able to deal with whatever. And Rockford, he had smoked, but he quit whenever we first got married. And he said, if you just give it to God, then he will take care of it. And for the first 6 years, I didn't believe that at all. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. But whenever we went through the Circle Maker in the summer of 2014, and I saw the just absolute turnarounds that God was able to do in our relationship, on our anniversary in 2014, I smoked my last cigarette. I said, nope, I'm done. And I went for a month, and I was so excited. And he said, yeah, anybody can do it for a month. Tell me whenever it's been a year. And I was so mad.
That conversation is a big point of contention around here sometimes.
I was so mad. But at the year, I said, hey, it's been a year. And I could absolutely relate with what Pastor said because we live in Oklahoma. So there are Indian smoke shops all around. And there are several on the way to visit family, which could be a trigger. And for the longest time, I would be like, oh my gosh, I just hope he just turns in. I hope he turns in, which he never would turn in, but I still had that desire, like, oh, can you just turn the car? And after probably 2 years, I said to him, oh my gosh, we just drove by and I didn't even notice. Yeah. Like, it didn't even, like, my body didn't physically react.
I remember when I stopped smoking that there'd be times I'd be driving in the car and somebody would go by. Well,
and you could smell it in the air.
Let me be clear. I went by somebody else.
Yeah.
And they'd be smoking. And you could see it. And as soon as you saw it, you're like, oh, I got to have one. Mm-hmm. I remember that. And that's a great example of talking about how hard it is to change habits because our minds get into that autopilot that we talked about yesterday. And they just want to stay in the same mode of operation. And so that's why it's so important to understand this compound interest in the way that it makes a difference each and every time we either give in to a bad habit or we work hard to keep up with our good habits. And so I don't want to spend the whole night talking about, the awful things that we've overcome. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the compound interest that's come from good habits that we've formed. So you've heard us talk a lot about our morning time of spending time in the Word, reading the Word, doing some quiet time, journaling, praying. And that habit is a good habit. And it's been a good habit because it brings about good positive results whenever we do it. Doesn't mean it's any easier. It doesn't mean that you can just get into, if you wake up one morning late and you don't get a chance to just get into your flow, you don't go, oh my gosh, I missed my quiet time. You just sort of go, okay, well, I'll pick it up at some point today. But my point is the things that have come out of that is a marriage that has been totally transformed because of working hard at that particular habit, spending time with God first thing before we do anything else, and then praying together, and then getting on with the day. Mm-hmm.
It's made a huge difference. It's made us much kinder in the mornings.
Well, it's made one of us much kinder in the mornings.
That's true.
I think it would surprise your dad how kind you can be in the mornings at this point.
Probably.
We should videotape that at some point. Let him see it.
He'll think it's staged.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I mean, that's an example of saying that good habits have their place, and it's up to us to work hard to identify our bad habits and figure out a way to change course. Not tomorrow, not next month, not at the new year, today. Mm-hmm. And what did we say yesterday? Pick one thing. Pick one and start.
And if it is something that is completely entrenched like that, like smoking, something that you've done it for a really long time and it's more than just a habit, it's an addiction, it's okay to seek help, to have somebody hold you able to be able to check in with you and say, how are you doing? And you'll need that encouragement too occasionally.
So, compound interest. Mm-hmm. The best time to do the right thing is right now. So, that's day 21. Tomorrow, we're going to start week 4. Can you believe it?
Yep.
We've already been in this thing 3 weeks. We're starting week 4. It's going to be Run Toward the Roar. This is one of my favorite sections in this book. I think it was when we had gone through this section the first time, I said to April, this would be a great book for us to do another video challenge with. So.
Yeah.
Run towards the roar. You ever thought about running towards the lion?
Hopefully it's one of those hybrid lions.
Yeah. Well, we're going to figure out all about running towards the roar next week. And I hope that you will be excited to come along with us. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you ding the bell. Smash the bell if you want to smash the bell. Like this video. Any of those things work. Like I said, this YouTube thing, it's trying to beat the algorithm. You gotta kind of like, it's like being a high school kid trying to be on the cool kid clique. Mm-hmm. It's weird.
They're always changing the bar.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, all that to say, I hope that you guys have an amazing day, and we'll be back tomorrow with day 22, the start of week 4, Run Towards the Roar. Have a great day.